In the Progression Kiteboarding Beginner DVD, we got you started with sliding turns, a crucial technique used by every kiter at some point in a session, but there are many other ways to change direction. And the carving turns offer a smooth, powerful movement that can offer varying challenges and exhilarations. Whether you're carving a super hard arc on flat water or slicing across the face of a wave, the carving turns are a must-have technique for any intermediate rider. There are two ways to attack the turn: start on your hillside and carve round to your toeside, or the reverse, starting on your toeside, ending up on your hillside. Both versions obviously share many similarities, namely their use of toeside riding at the beginning or end, and it's this element that will decide our entry point to these techniques. You can gain a lot of speed and power during the turn, and holding this power on the exit is far easier on your hillside. So we'll start with the toeside to hillside carves to cover the majority of the elements that make up these turns. Then in the second progression, we'll give you some key points to consider when trying the hillside to toeside carving turns and how they differ. So in the last chapter of this DVD, we covered riding toeside, and this will be your first use of it for something other than just cruising along.
So let's start with the first run through of toeside to hillside carving turns.
Ride toeside with a moderate speed and your kite between 10 and 11. Slowly bring your kite up to 12. As you do this, come off your toeside edge, applying light pressure to your hillside edge to flatten the board and direct it downwind. Look over your front shoulder in the new direction. With the kite at 12 and the board pointing directly downwind, pull hard with your new front hand. Lean back against the kite and apply more hillside pressure. Keep more weight over your back leg to balance against the kite's power and carve the board around to the new direction. You should have speed from the turn and the kite parked between 10 and 11, ready to ride away immediately in the correct stance. The first crucial area to consider is the kite's overall movement during this manoeuvre. It's important that the kite and board are in sync throughout. It's essential that at the midpoint of the turn, the board is pointing directly downwind, and the kite is at 12 o'clock. As soon as you take weight off your toes and transfer it to your heels, start pulling with your back hand. The first part of the turn can be more gentle, but it's in the second half where you build up momentum and speed. This happens because your kite is directed down through the power zone, generating lots of pull, whilst you're able to edge hard on your hillside. This increase in power, but ability to edge hard, accelerates you forwards, keeping up with the kite, leaving it in the perfect position, as is your body, to ride off at full speed in control. As long as the board is pointing directly downwind, as you pull hard to direct the kite back in the new direction, then however much power the kite delivers, you can just lean back, getting your weight over your back foot to drive the board upwind, forcing the kite to the front of the wind window. In stronger winds, you can either keep the kite flying near the edge of the window, or keep the kite turning low and fast, but edging super hard. You can always control this power as you're able to bear off downwind during the first half of the turn, and you are on your hillside edge during the exit, so you can get all your weight over your back leg to crank the board around the final part of the carve. As with all tricks and techniques, remember to look where you want to go. In this case, once the board is pointing downwind, turn your head and shoulders to look back in the new direction. This will help you to edge hard through the end of the carve. As you get the timing sussed and gain confidence, you can carve harder and go faster. Try entering the turn with more speed on your toe side. Drive the kite through the centre of the power zone, edging super hard off your back foot. If you find on the entry the kite pulls you onto your back, the board sliding out from under you, then you have sent the kite up to 12 or past it too fast, before transferring enough weight off your toes and onto your heels. The board and kite need to be in sync. As you direct the kite up to 12, start transferring weight onto your heels. If you complete the turn but lose all your speed and falling backwards, then you're doing two possible things wrong. Putting too much weight over your back foot, directing the kite down too low in the wind window. Both of these options often happen together, resulting in a lack of power and weight too far back, which can't be adjusted to compensate. Ensure as you hillside edge through the exit of the turn, you keep enough weight on your front foot to maintain forward speed, rather than simply carving upwind. At the same time, ensure that your kite stays parked between 10 and 11 o'clock. In lighter winds, you may need to drop the kite lower, but be prepared to fly it back upwards to maintain constant power. Another possible problem is that you are using all your speed from the entry to edge hard and carve around the turn, but not waiting for the kite to catch up. Once again, ensure that the board and kite movement are kept in sync. If you slow down and fall in during the middle of the turn, then you're being too gentle with the kite, not sending it back in the new direction from 12, leaving you off balance. As soon as the board is pointing downwind and the kite is at 12, pull hard with your new front hand, lean back against the kite and keep more of your weight over your back foot. If you find the board doesn't carve around smoothly, but pivots around the tail, then you're probably putting your weight over your back foot right from the entry, forcing the tail of the board into the water, stopping the board from carving. During the entry, keep your weight evenly distributed between your feet, with light pressure on your heels. Only lean back hard against the kite with weight over your heels and back foot once the board is pointing downwind and the kite is above you, ready to be directed back into the power zone.
The hillside to toeside carving turn uses a similar technique to the previous turn, but can be more intimidating as you have to lean into the turn and control the increasing power on your toeside edge. Let's check out the first run through. To start with, reduce your speed. Eventually you'll be able to do this with more speed, but for this you'll need more practice. Push out with your back leg to engage the hillside edge and reduce your speed. Allow your body to be lifted forwards so that your weight is over the board. Pull with your backhand to steer the kite up towards 12 o'clock. And as the kite starts to turn, lean forwards and apply some pressure onto your toeside edge. Keep your weight balanced between your feet with your legs bent to drive the board through the first half of the turn. As the board goes through the downwind position, pilot the kite faster towards the direction you want to reach and apply more toeside pressure with more weight over your back foot. If needs be, adjust your weight distribution so that you are balanced against the kite's power on your toeside edge.
Again, the kite follows the same two defined stages. Slowly bring the kite up to 12 as you come off your hillside edge and flatten the board. Now we start carving the board downwind as you start pulling hard with your back hand to direct the kite in the new direction. The kite should accelerate in the new direction as the board is pointing directly downwind, ready to carve hard upwind on your toeside edge. Throughout the turn, you drive the board off your back foot, starting with your weight reasonably balanced between your feet, but as the board accelerates through the turn, your weight will transfer more over your back foot to counteract the increased pull from the kite. As with any edging, you want your weight to be over the rail, driving the edge into the water. So commit your whole body to the turn, leaning forwards from the start to get your weight over your toes. Your legs should be bent, but your whole body should be in line, with your hips forwards and your shoulders back as always. If you find that you can't complete the carve and end up running off downwind, then you may have too much weight on your front foot so that you can't engage the toe side edge correctly. Alternatively, your legs are too straight, so you can't lean into the turn and again get weight over your toes to engage the toe side edge, specifically on your back foot. During the entry to the turn, your weight can be more centered over the board and your legs straighter, but as soon as you start to put weight over your toes, you need to bend your legs, lean into the turn, transferring more weight over your back foot and edge as the board accelerates. If you find yourself out of control, having to carve harder than you're comfortable with bouncing around, then you may be flying the kite too fast, creating too much power and speed. Work yourself up to this by starting with more moderate turning speeds of the kite, so your body doesn't need to react so aggressively. When attempting these faster turns, you must really commit, entering with loads of speed with your kite low, leaning hard into the turn, so you can drive the board off the toe side edge. If you find the tail slips out on the exit of the turn, then you have too much weight on your back foot at this point. You will have accelerated through most of the turn, but as you reach the end, this acceleration will probably settle as the kite comes to be sat at the front of the window. You need to anticipate this, return to a more constant power, and rebalance your weight distribution, easing off the edging on your back foot. Once you've mastered carving turns, you'll be keen to make the turns more adventurous by introducing more speed, by using exaggerated movements of the kite, and committing to harder edging. From this point, more challenging elements can be introduced to the change of direction, such as jumps and spins, and these are all covered in detail in the Progression Intermediate Volume 2 DVD.